cheer for your Sydney Swans. Cheer the red and the white, honour the name by day and by night.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club.
So to all you loyal Swans out there who just can't get enough of the red and the white,
fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. The AFLW season 2024 is kicking off, and here we are for the second year of the Bevy, running with the AFLW Sydney Swans, our beloved Sydney Swans. And we are going to kick off this year no different. Of course, every game is going to be reviewed and all the fun content that goes along the way as well. So you're joined, as always, from the crew from Sydney. I've got my long-esteemed host from last year, Stevo. Stevo, welcome back, mate, for 2024.
Mate, great to be here. Feels like it's been a while. I can't wait. Just looking forward to some AFLW.
It has been a long time, let's be fair. So let's just get on with this. And we have a special new host of ours, Jen. Jen, welcome to the potty.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. Likewise, excited for the AFLW season to get underway.
It's going to be a cracker, I feel, as we get stuck into all the special bits that make up the AFLW. We're going to talk about last year, the team, how we went, the team makeup, of course, in itself, the season ahead, and just have a bit of fun along the way. So for everyone at home, this is the first AFLW preseason potty for the year, and we're going to have a bit of fun with it. So, Jen, I'm going to start off with you, just ask you a couple of questions. Everyone knows about Stevo. We've spoken too much with Stevo, arguably, over the last few years.
Yep.
Yeah.
But with Jen, for someone to listen out there to listen to both the AFL men's and the women's, Jen joined us in the men's for a podcast a few weeks ago. But we didn't get too stuck into, I guess, some of your rap sheet. But Jen, I understand, and for the listeners out there, I don't know if you can summarize a little bit about your VFLW career, and maybe we can stuck into some bits like that.
Okay, let's get stuck in. I had been playing AFL for roughly 14 years. I was mainly up in Sydney, played in the Premier Division with Sydney Uni for the majority of that, and then towards the end of my football career, moved down to Melbourne and played a couple of seasons with Carlton in their VFLW squad, and was lucky to be part of the train-on for the AFLW team as well before hanging up my boots after a facial fracture. So, yeah.
Jeez Louise. All right, no worries. So you did a couple of years down with Carlton, the move down to Melbourne to kind of get that career up and running. What kind of transition was that for you, running down all the way down to Victoria and then playing in different colours and all the things that go with it?
It was such a great experience. I'd been chomping at the bit to be professionally trained. I think in Sydney, obviously, to begin with, it was GWS from the inauguration, and I'd had a little taste of it actually playing an exhibition match with the Demons back in 2013, and I just wanted to get back to that higher level. So to be trained and be able to play on Icon Park week in, week out was pretty special, and use the facilities that the men's were using. It would have been nice to have eventually put on the Swans jersey, but time got the better of me. But I was super excited to see the Swans join in the competition, and it's been a pretty incredible first 2 years. So yeah, bummed for myself, but happy for the Swans.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm bummed for the Swans as well for not being able to probably have the quality of player that you were. For anyone at home, if you want to sit around and do some homework, Jennifer Lew, Lew. You can find your stats everywhere, VFL, AFLW stats. You look at some of your ex-playing days and stuff. And yeah, pretty esteemed player. And from everything that I did my homework on, and we go through it one day into the future, we did notice that there was the best and fairest is named after you as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. You're making me
humble here, man.
Making me toot my own horn at the beginning of the first podcast I'm doing for AFLW. Yes, I was very lucky and I feel very honoured and privileged. Last year, Sydney University renamed the Premier Division's Best and Fairest trophy after me. So
Wow. Well,
I'm pretty chuffed about that. Also a bit rosy-cheeked about it as well.
I kind of feel that we're the most underqualified couple of blokes to sit here and talk about AFLW, but I mean that's what a podcast is all about. Just listening to some people barely know what they're talking about, talking to someone who actually does. So I think we got Jen here for the season, and we're just really thankful to have you here, Jen. So thank you so much for joining in, and it's going to be a cracker of a season, I'm sure.
Thank you.
No worries, Stevo, mate. I'm going to pass over to you. The expectations that you and I had last year when we went through the preseason discussion, between us, and I was saying, a couple of wins would be good. You were saying a win. We got a lot deeper into the season, mate. Do you want to give a quick wrap up of how the season went for last year?
Oh, look, honestly, if we'd even won one game last year, I would have been happy. I would have been happy if we'd been competitive in a majority of games, even if we still lost all of them. And then to win one in the first week, which we did, we got our very first win of the season in that first game against the Giants, which I think really got the monkey off the back. And after that, the girls just went for it. Hey, like they were in a solid position. I think they'd won 2 or 3 at the halfway point of the season. It's a 10-round season, and they came home flying, won the last 3 games, and got into the finals and won a final against the Gold Coast. Which, I mean, we would never have come close to believing that. And okay, we had some new and exciting players come into the team, but I didn't think they'd make that much of a difference so quickly and bring the level of all of the girls up, which is what I think happened. Like everyone stepped up a level. That first season was rushed, and the coaches and players have said that. They've said that they didn't really have a huge amount of time to gel before that season. And in season 2, we saw a completely different Sydney Swans team. And okay, we got an absolute hiding by the Crows in the semi-final. The Crows are one of the absolutely most established AFLW teams since the beginning. So it was disappointing, but it wasn't something which I think long term should be too damaging. We had a great win the week before against the Gold Coast in the elimination final, and here we are ready for season 3 with a totally different outlook to what we had in 12 months ago.
Yep, that's it. I think what happened against Adelaide, I mean, they've won 3 premierships and we've been in 2 seasons of competition up to that point. So we can totally appreciate that. Going back to what you said at the beginning, Jen, the first round, it all kicked off there, as Stevo said. Talk to me. What a great way to start a season.
It was absolutely electric. I was down at North Sydney Oval for that first game, and it was just so exciting. I think, same as what Stevo said, I don't think anyone was expecting the Swannies to take a win over the Giants. There was a lot of chat about it. It was the second Sydney derby. So, there's always such a great competition and no love lost when the Swans and the Giants play each other. And I think the girls really continued that tradition. There was a bit of niggle in that first game and a few sections of it. But yeah, first win of the season, first Sydney win, first Sydney derby win for us. Ali Morfitt got that Rising Star nomination. Chloe Malloy's clutch goals, like the flying shot on goal, which was just so unexpected, but just the crowd roaring after that was pretty incredible. And then, Privatelli kicks a bag as well, and it was quite good to see her sneaky one where she pops out from behind the goalpost and caught it on the line and snaps around and left her old teammate with her arms in the air being like, surely that was out, but no. So I think there's a lot of people very happy about that one, and I think there's 5,000 plus people on the hill and in the grandstands there. It was a good way to start the season.
It was electric. I actually took my dad for his first AFL game at all since about 1993, 94, when his young boy dragged him all the way from Campbelltown to go watch a game at the SCG. And I'm pretty sure it was against the Blues, and I'm pretty sure we lost by about 89 or something like it's just insane. So he's never been interested in watching any AFL. He knows that I love it and he just doesn't care. He turned up on that day and he's gone, wow, this is serious. And I'm like, Dad, these girls go hard. And then after he saw Chloe Malloy's little step run and then wicked boot to score that goal from the pocket, he was taken, and it's just like, okay, I'm in. Like, he was all in from there, and it was just brilliant. So it was turning heads, and it was such a great crowd. Now, the rest of the season went on from the back of that, but you have to appreciate how much it meant to the team, right? Like, we saw the men's go out there, sing the song with the girls, and appreciate every part of it. That was incredible.
Ah, yes, I remember I was right on the sideline for that actually, and this giant supporter was losing his mind that the men's were going on the field because they didn't have their lanyards on, so they weren't part of the professional team. He was like, "They're not
Of all the
allowed on the
things.
field. They're not. They're not.
Their
They're not
lanyards.
part of the
Wow.
crew. They don't have their lanyards
yeah.
on." And everyone was like, "Mate, come on. I know it's tough to lose sometimes, but you just got to let this one go. This is incredible for just the sport. This is incredible for the
situation.
game of women's footy. Just let the men go out there and cheer with them." Everyone was like, "Mate."
I didn't realize that lanyards were like the equivalent of like a high-vis t-shirt. If you go with high-vis, you can get in anywhere in the world, right? No one questions you. If you go in with a lanyard, you can just walk onto a football field as far as this guy's concerned. I love it.
We might keep that in mind for the first round this season.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a couple of lanyards are sorted out, a couple of baby lanyards.
Yep.
Look, we were going to talk about the best games of 2024. Of course, the first game and the first win and everything would have been that. The other one that we'd pick up would probably be the game against the Gold Coast. I kept saying the Gold Coast. I say it because my mum does. My mum got heavily like into AFLW in similar ways. Like, they'd never been big football fans, and my mum just got stuck into it real well. And when we found out we were going to a final, we're heading up to Gold Coast, my mum looks at me and goes, "We have to go. We have to go." I'm like, "All right, mum, let's just go." And we picked up, went over there, got to hang out with Privatelli's mum, hang out with Chloe Malloy's mum, hang out with a few others. Hurley's like whole family was up there. And it was a fantastic game of football, to the point where my mum was literally crying for like the last quarter, just in happiness. And I'm like, "Mum, are you all right?" She's just in tears, like weeping. She was like, "I'm just so happy that the girls are happy." I'm like, "Oh, come on, Mum." Just fire up a bit, Mum. This is football. But you had the most incredible crowd there of fans, family, fans, randoms like myself. And it was mostly Swans fans up in Gold Coast, and it really felt like a home game for the girls, from my understanding. Like, it went on that loud, and the game was superb. I don't know, either of you want to talk more about it, but just the emotion around the game was amazing.
Yeah, watching it on TV, it looked like it was a Swans crowd almost, and the noise and stuff. It was something which I thought we'd probably have a trickle of fans. It looks like a lot of Swans people made the effort to go out, which was awesome.
It was mostly them. Jen, did you get to watch the game live, or did you
No.
head up as well? I don't know, we've spoken about this.
No, unfortunately not. So I was the same, watching it on TV, watching it back. So, I mean, so exciting though. Elimination final in the second year. Yeah, it was incredible to watch. It's such a beautiful oval up there as well, such a beautiful pitch. So, yeah, lucky girls.
Yeah. It was very, 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 very cool. That for me, I think for a lot of fans, between those two games would have been the best game of 2024, and best game that AFLW for Sydney Swans would have been one of those two. Stevo, you picked another cracker of a game as your favourite game for the season, one of your favourite games for the season. Get into it, because I remember this one. This was brilliant.
I loved the round 9 versus Collingwood, so second last round of the season, and at the time, like we really weren't that hopeful of making finals at the time, because we still had to get 2 games, and we probably needed to win both of them to sneak into the finals, and one of them was Collingwood. And Collingwood at the time, I think, had been on a pretty solid run. They'd won 4 in a row or so, and we hadn't won 2 games in a row for the whole season at that point, and we'd won the week before, I think, or something like this. And then we got to the point where we were up by a couple of goals at half time, I think 2 or 3 goals, and then Collingwood came at us. We didn't score a goal at all in the whole of the third quarter. I think it was like maybe a goal or 10 points or something in 3/4 time. And then the girls just came home firing. They went mental in the last. Sophia Hurley kicked a couple of goals in the last quarter. Chloe Malloy kicked that sealer. It was fantastic. And at that point, I thought, okay, we've just got to win. If we beat Freo in the last round, we're in. And that was it. That was the equation, because that was the win that got us into the 8 for the first time since, I think, round 1 against the Giants. And, almost everyone who wins round 1 is in the finals, or is in the 8. So that was the first time in round 9 that we were thinking, okay, this is for real. This could actually go beyond round 10. And, I remember being a massive buzz that game, like screaming at my TV. My neighbours must think I got serious problems, I think, in my life. But they hear a lot of sports screaming, actually. The Olympics was a tough time for my neighbours too, I think.
They got to call the cops soon enough.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that was incredible. I love that game. It was awesome.
I remember that, and I remember the Freo game that followed it, because we actually thought that the Freo game would be that, like, whether the emotion would not be able to be sustained, I guess, is like that amount of effort and pressure, and that Freo game was just awesome. The girls just ran over him from memory. I don't think Freo ever had a chance at that one. So, what a great really option. Jen, over to you. Do you want to pick a second game, or do you want to touch on that one a bit?
I know, I'm already like breaking the rules.
It's like that
away.
season.
You said to just choose one, but I was like, I can't just choose one. There were just so many. My game was game 6 against Port Adelaide. I think that was, for me, it was the first game I really saw them actually start to play with a bit of composure. I think those first couple of games of the season, there was still a bit of flow on maybe from that first year of playing on when they shouldn't, and just that balance between fast play and slow play. This is the first game that there was just controlled entries into the forward 50. They switched up some positions as well. I felt like they actually used their talls really well down the spine of the field. So they added in Smith up forward a little bit more, along with Ham was kind of rolling in the mids and forwards, and then Hamilton as well. And I thought, it just took that pressure off Priv. Like, she's always going to take those clutch marks, and she's such an amazing shot on goal, but it also brings a lot of pressure on her, and the defenders give her a lot of heat. And so I thought in this game, they spread and they made the defenders make a decision, and they just created more leading channels, more leading lanes, and just more tall options. And then Mitchell down back, again, just that tall spine. So having Mitchell down back, obviously Moffat in the middle, and then the forwards up front, it just opened up the game a little bit more. And there was just more connection. I think it just got to that point into the season that had a couple of games together, and there's just the linkage happening throughout the park. Like, I think in quarter 2, there was this amazing mark down back by McAvoy. She kicked it to Kennedy. She switched it across the ground, took on the person on the mark into the forward 50. Priv led to a goal. And then 2 seconds later, Morfitt tapped down to Malloy, hands back inside, deep inside 50, bang, Ella Smith, another goal. So, Smith up front as well.
Connections across the ball, chaining up to get connections through. Yeah,
the first couple of games, there was still a bit of, the hands probably weren't quite as clean, or, by that stage of the season, you just know each other's voices a little bit more. You know how people move, you know how they run, so you can just hear just even the slightest sound from them. You're like, that's my teammate, bang, handball to them. And then, I just thought there was a couple of players who just started coming into their confidence, particularly Smith, and then Hurley was also starting to step up. And then, I might have a slight football crush on Kennedy, and by slight I mean a big one.
You're not the only
I just think she is, as a lockdown player, she had that job on Erin Phillips, and in future games, all the big stars, she had them, and she absolutely locked them down, and then she creates such spread from herself as well. Like, she's just got that burst and strength and speed. She's fun to watch.
Strength and speed, I saw a couple of videos with her yesterday and today, and you could see she's put on she's even more lean but bigger at the same time. Like, she's going to be something to watch this year, really genuinely. To the players, as you mentioned there, a few of them, best and fairest for last year, 2023, went like this. Laura Gardner ran away with it. It was about halfway through the season, and the Bob medal was basically just hers, I think, at that point. She just seemed to just clean up. And then, of course, Chloe Malloy, co-captain, and the solid unit that she is, and can play everywhere. And then followed by Ali Morfitt, who was on her way to a rising star, Got a lot of accolades along the way. But coming third in the Bob medal and in the best and fairest for the Swans. Jen, talk to us. Any one of those players you want to pick up? I guess starting with Laura Gardner probably makes sense. She was just phenomenal. Like, where we see this coming, this girl comes over from the Cats and then just dominates the AFL.
I know, what a fantastic find, because she just brought some hunt, I guess, in the middle of the pack, but also just a contested beast for the ball. She was a bit of an in and under player, but just fancy footwork. Like, the amount of times I saw her just move back to move forward, or off to the side, just move laterally before she moved forward, and just clean with her hands, clean with the pick up at her toes. And just those deep inside 50s, or she just looked laterally, just a slight 45, slightly off the line, and it just opens up the field so nicely. And she got us going with Malloy and Kennedy and a couple of others that ran through the middle. So she was very impressive.
Seemed like that extra piece we kind of didn't necessarily think we had, and we did, and she made an enormous difference to us going forward.
She stood up under pressure. Like, every game she had someone on her, and she still managed to just impact the game. She got out when she had her moments and used them well. So
just outwork her opponent always. Just too hard, runs too hard. Stevo, Chloe Malloy, we don't have to talk about how much I love Chloe Malloy. It's been well documented many times. We were lucky enough to interview her a few weeks ago, so any listeners out there that may have missed that, because it was amongst all the AFL M stuff, go back a few episodes. We actually interviewed Chloe Malloy, and she was amazing with her time and her energy, and just her honesty was really fantastic. You're probably talking to fan number one over here, and Stevo, mate, talk to us. Chloe Malloy's season.
Yeah, I think the thing with Chloe Malloy last year was we kind of knew what we would get from her as a player, like her ability, and she'd had injuries and stuff, and so it was always one of those things of, will we get the best Chloe Malloy on the field? And we absolutely did. What I really thought was so much more valuable in many ways to the team was the Chloe Malloy that we got off the field, and the way that she's totally bought into the club and the culture of the club, and being a part of achieving something really great with the Swans. And that, I think, came out a lot when we talked to her a few weeks ago. So you definitely go and have a listen if you haven't listened to it. It was a really nice chat with her. And I think that having a player of her experience and ability who was also totally connected with the club off the field, I mean, we can't see that as fans from the outside, what's the difference it makes, but I've got to imagine that it's really important for that group, especially being such a young group, a lot of them have come from outside New South Wales. And her central role in that, I think, is amazing. So her off and on field stuff in 2023, I think, was a big part of us getting to the finals.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it, mate. I didn't even think to kind of consider how incredible she's been without the football in hand, but yeah, she has been amazing. I'll quickly pick up Ali Morfitt, third in the best and fairest for 20s. Just a absolute. From the second she got on the field for round one, you could see what a difference she would make to the team, and she did, until she got injured, unfortunately. But still put up enough numbers around to win enough accolades for everyone to identify her as the best ruck girl going around. She was incredible. I think it was told to her, and Jen, please jump in here as well. It was told to her by Gowans that if you want to stay on the team, you got to work harder, you got to get fitter, and she did that. I think she turned it around, and that seemed to make all the difference in her game.
Yeah, I can't really comment on that, but it seemed to be something the commentators kept saying those first couple of games of she's had to work really hard, and she has worked really hard in the off season, and she's so fit. And it definitely showed across the ground, like the amount of ground she would cover for the Swans. She'd be in the ruck tap, she'd be crumbing as an extra midfielder, she'd be tackling, she'd be getting out for the defensive kick out from 50, making a marking contest. She pushed forward a couple of times, got herself a couple of goals. She was just dominant. She was very impressive. And I think everyone on the sidelines at that very first game was talking about it. Everyone was just like, wow, who is this? Let's go.
Let's go. So, we've got a season ahead of us. Yeah. All three of those players got AA jackets for their efforts. So that's superb. And alongside there, we had Brownlow votes. Chloe Malloy had the most with 16. And it was 7 for Morfitt. And I'm pretty sure Gardner as well for some reason. I feel that. Please tell me if I'm wrong. rising star, Ali Morfitt, who we just spoke about, our beloved rock girl, came in second behind Zali Goldsworthy from GWS. So all three of them did incredible things around the league and got well recognised by everyone how good they were. Within the club themselves, your one, Stevo, Sophia Hurley, the young tackle meister herself, won the Swans Rising Star. You picked her to potentially win the best and fairest last year, and she did pretty damn well. But Rising Star is not too bad at all.
Yeah, and she's great. And like we think about, they're all young. Like Laura Gardner's 21, Ali Morfitt's 20, Sophia Hurley's 20, Montana Ham's going to be 20. Like we've got a really, really young core of incredibly talented footballers. So it's really good. If Ali Morfitt chose to resign, I'm sure there would have been plenty of offers. So
Yeah,
really,
apparently
really
the
good young
Bulldogs
core.
are after her.
Oh no!
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
Bulldogs
right.
were going hard for her, and thankfully she stayed for us. So I'm happy about that.
That's awesome. Need that. Best club person, Maddie Collier, which is, so the name doesn't necessarily ring a bell for those who are just watching the game. It's because she didn't play a single game last season. Started the season with ACL, and there was another one that did the ACL as well. Remind me, Haley Bullis.
Yeah, she's back.
She's back. So they both did their ACL during preseason, I feel. And we're like, oh, the wheels have come off already. But Maddie didn't stop Maddie Collier from going out there, being the ultimate club person and being recognised for as much in the club. So that's amazing.
Yeah, she should bring some real experience to the team as well. She was, I believe, one of the inaugural players for GWS, then went across to West Coast, was part of the leadership team there, and now she's come across to the Swannies, and she was always a hard player when we played against each other in the Sydney AFL comp. She's just, hard at the ball, runs both ways. I think she'll bring a lot to the team this year.
Oh, awesome. You're getting even more excited than what I already was. We'll talk about some of the selection issues we're going to have later down in the potty, as Scowens have mentioned it a few times, so we get stuck into that. The last accolade to just quickly talk about would be the best player in finals, which is, of course, the first time we've had to give it out because it's the first time we ever go into finals, and that was taken by Brenna Tarrant. Few people would be questioning this, but I absolutely love Tarrant's game. I think when it gets down to it, she is the intercept queen. So fantastic, man. Stevo, we spoke about her many, many times. When the game got close, Tarrant turned up.
Yeah, she really did, and she was one of those ones that I think really lifted and became such a key player, and really like a player that other teams had to start worrying about and planning for because of the role she was playing down back. She was fantastic for us for the whole year, not just the finals, but especially finals.
Yeah, expecting a lot of her, and AA jersey this year, I feel. So keep an eye on that one. Jen, now member attendance for the Swannies was almost the best and was the best for a long time within the season.
Yep.
The Swans fans turned up no matter where we played, North Sydney, SCG, although Henson Park, Swans turn up, and it was recognised throughout the season.
Yeah, I think it was that Collingwood game as well. They said, again, a 5,000 plus. It was 5,722 put themselves out to Henson Park for that Collingwood game. And they said, the commentators at that time, that up until game 9, so even up until that Collingwood game, the Swans had the highest average home game attendance of any clubs. They were edging out Adelaide as well. And we know how wild the Adelaide fans have been over the last couple of years, considering the dominance of Adelaide. So that's a pretty big accolade to the Swannies contingent as well. And I hope that continues this year. I think this first game is going to be a big crowd.
Yes, I think so. And that's a great opportunity for us to remind everyone at home, we are talking about AFLW, which means it is up and coming. The tickets, memberships, everything are out there to go right now. If you do not have your ticket, you must buy it tonight, tomorrow, latest. It will sell out. The sun will come up tomorrow, and North Sydney, 30th of August, will also sell out. That's what's the guaranteed things are going to happen. So make sure you get around to it. Now, let's get stuck into the team. Now, Scott Gowans, our man at the helm there, head coach, has contract extension for 4 more years. Really big for the game. Stevo, mate, we talked about Gowans, his influence in it, and just this calming, most qualified bloke running around. Just we're so lucky to have him as well.
Yeah, definitely, and that seems to come through in all of the AFLW media too. Like, not just don't just hear Swans people saying this. He seems to now be getting the recognition after last season, in particular, that he's a very, very good like manager of people and the way that he gets people working together. And I think we're lucky to have him for as long as he wants to be around.
Yeah, exactly. We got a bit of inside knowledge when we were talking to Chloe, was that he is way more intense in person that we gave him credit for. For some reason, I thought it was a bit of a softie. Turns out not, Jen. Turns out he's hardcore. I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel like you've got to be a bit soft and a bit hard. You've got to have a good mix when you're a coach, right?
Yeah,
You've just got to pick the timings, but yeah. Crack the whip, I'd say.
Crack the whip at the right times. You can't crack it all the time. You've got to crack it at the right time.
Yeah.
Captains for the year had no change from last year. So Chloe and McAvoy in their second year of co-captaincy, which is fantastic. We haven't spoken too much about Lucy McAvoy, but we will in a second. Just amazing. She's only 23, for crying out loud. Like that. I thought she was a veteran of 28 or something. No, she's 23. She's a baby. Like
she doesn't play and act like a new-ish player, because like when you're those ones that I reeled off before, like 5 or 6 are all 20 or below, and then she's 23. Like, she's the elder one of that group, but not really. Like, she's only a couple of years older than them, but she really has a strong head, I think.
So we know we've got a fair bit of information, Jen. You played a fair bit with Lucy in your time. Tell us all about. Give us all the goss.
You're absolutely right. She's such a calm head. She seems so much more mature than her age on the paper. She did drop down a few times and help us play in the VFL for Carlton at the end of the season. There was, at the end of their season, or players who weren't getting games in the AFLW would come and drop down for the VFL, and she's put her hand up at the end of the AFLW season in 21 and in 22 to help with the VFL squad. She was like, we may as well, train and teach and bring up the other players in the squad, and I want to be one of those players who do that. And so she'd come down and come to training with us. She did play those couple of games. She's hilarious. She's such a funny girl. She's always up for a bit of a laugh, but as soon as she's on that field, she is calm and collected. I'd like to see her play a little bit more in the midfield again. She did play a bit in the mids when we down in Carlton for VFL, and she's just such a strong body, and as we've all seen, clean with the ball. But having her behind the ball in defence, we know that she's just directing. Her and Tarrant together, they've just been a wall down in that back line, and I think they've also brought heads into the game as well. She is amazing as a backline player as well. But Big Boy McAvoy, she is a character, and I love her. I think she's a great player, but she's an even better person. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Big Boy McAvoy, I'm a big fan of this. I like this a lot. Dare I say it, perhaps a future AFLW coach along the way, or Lucy. It seems like she's got that kind of energy and headspace. I
think so. I think she's, as you said, 23. I can't even believe she's 23. She's just such a leader and, a steadier of the ship, and obviously just loves the game. And as I said, wanted to... you don't pull people down, you pull them up. And she's definitely a player who wants to pull people up.
Love it. I hope she's not coaching too soon. I hope she's playing for the Swans for a while.
For another 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, 10 more years. It was amazing. Like, the amount of times that the ball had come out. Let's say the opposition was bringing the ball out of half-back, out of midfield, or whatever, and you think, oh, crap, we're going to get run through here. And then you'd see her on the next shot on the camera as the camera pans, and I feel like, okay, we're probably going to be fine. And she'd sort it out, and it'd come back the other way. Like, just such a calm customer.
And probably the best kick in the game, in the team.
Outside
of maybe Ella.
Was so good. None of this junk kick out of the back. It was like there was a purpose to where she kicked the ball.
Yeah,
that is one thing I hope they do a little bit more of this year. There was a few times in our defensive line, there was a few too many cute handballs, maybe across goal, and I was like, oh my God. But whenever it was in Lucy's hands, it was like, do do the easy thing, do the calm thing, get it out, get it wide, and she usually, yes, came in one side, she'd clear it out the other side. So she was a broom, she was a mop down there, just cleaning up.
Yeah, truly natural. I think it would be nice to see her in the midfields more often, but I think wherever she goes, she's going to be a star, right? Like wherever we need her, we're going to put her. So she's a bit of a Callum Mills. If I were to suggest like an AFLW, AFLM, approach to it, it's just someone you can put anywhere whenever you need them.
Yeah, even her sneaky goals in the Elim final and Gold Coast, sneaking up forwards.
Yeah.
She's sneaky. She's also sneaky.
And the midfield's pretty stacked. Like they've got the luxury of
Yeah.
not needing to play her in the middle because they've
That's
got
it.
so many good midfielders in there who are getting the job done. So you can put someone of her caliber in that role in the back half. It's an amazing thing to be able to do as a coach, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
fair
She
play, fair.
loosens up a bit, and she allows people like Tanya Kennedy to have shown how strong she can be playing a particular role. So, Lucy's strength in the back line has actually given Gowans, as you said there, Stevo, a lot of options. Options we probably arguably didn't know we had. All right, now changes to the team as we get through the season. A few delistings: Jade Anthony, Kiara Beasley, Sarah Ford, Jenny Higgins, Kate Reynolds, Bridie Kennedy have all been delisted. Bridie Kennedy, the last one there, for personal reasons. We've had one trade out, our own, one of the two Helmet sisters, Alicia Newman, has headed over to GWS where she started off the career, and it looks like she's headed over there again. It's a real shame because she designed the jerseys, the Mount jerseys for the girls.
Yeah.
So we're gonna lose that, which is a bit
Are
of
we
a
allowed
shame.
to keep using the old design?
Oh, that's a good
Should
question.
take it with it.
We have to check out a contract. We might have to go
Yeah.
ask the club for a breakdown.
Bit of IP.
Yeah. See, here we go. Now, a fair few new players coming in. Haley Bullis, we mentioned earlier, who did an ACL at the beginning of last year. Well overqualified player, someone we really genuinely missed to give a crack. And Gowans had mentioned during the preseason that he was quite excited about what she was able to do and seeing her back out there. Holly Cooper, I might pass it over to you, Stevo. A local girl who gets picked up.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know a huge amount about any of these next five that we're going to go through. They're all young ones that have come in the last 6 or 12 months. Holly, we know she's from Manly Warringah, the Wolves down there in Sydney, or up there in Sydney, depending what part of Sydney you're in, I suppose. I'm from the Central Coast, so Manly is down. 19
south,
years old.
down,
Yep.
right.
Yeah, down south. You know what I mean? Down on a map, like you walk down.
Yeah.
Anyway, south of Gosford at least. So she's from Manly. She's been playing footy there. She's 19. We didn't have to get her through the draft because they had these concessions for the four most recent expansion teams, which was us, Port, Hawthorn, and the Bombers. At the end of last year, they had like a zone type thing, like an academy set up. So we were able to take her straight from the Swans Academy, so we didn't have to go through the draft to get Holly. And she's a midfielder. There's high hopes for Holly. I think they're looking forward to having her around. From what I read, she's really keen to be part of the club, and the girls seem to be embracing her too, which is great.
Hard worker, hard runner, good skills from what we understand. So all the things that make up a pretty good Bloods footballer. Over to you, Jen. Any of those names we've got here that you want to talk about? We'll get stuck into.
Look, I'm similar with Stevo there, that a few of those names I'm keen to see what they bring to the team. I don't know too much about them. I would say probably the only one I would assume was the lovely girl you just spoke about, Holly Cooper. I mean, Manly have been a strong team for the last couple of years, and their midfield has been known to be very tough, rough and tumbles. So for her to be picked out of that midfield, I think that's a good sign and good things to come from her. Other than that, I'm just keen to see what these people bring to it. Yeah, we were looking for some information on some of the players, and it seems like it's a well-kept secret. It's hard to find out some information.
Yeah, it's tricky. AFLW or VFLW or any of those under systems just do not have the resources that the men's do, and so getting information about some of these players is bloody well hard, I'll tell you what. One name that does come up, Giselle Davies, which was a trade we got up from Gold Coast, 21-year-old key defender. we actually got the inside tip from Chloe Malloy that she is someone we should keep our eye on. She is somebody that we feel that she feels that she's working way harder than necessary to get into the team, and she's got I wouldn't say a little bit of a chip on her shoulder for not getting the game time over at Gold Coast. So she is someone raring to go down here, and looks like she's doing all the pieces. So just between everyone at home, if you're playing at home for a bit of fantasy, I've already got her in a fantasy game in the league just in case this Smoky blows out. So we'll see how we are. Right, now, season ahead. Stevo, structure of the fixture. We have bumped up the game, but still not a full-fledged competition at this point.
Yeah, not quite. 11 games, which is not the 17 games that I think a lot of people would like, because that would be a proper everyone plays everyone type deal. So we've got 11, which is one more than last year, which is, I guess, better than 10, but still not ideal for an even competition, and for acknowledging what the women's competition is and has become and is going to be. But yep, we've got 11 games, and that's where we're at. We're hopeful that in seasons to come we'll get more.
Yep. Jen, we missed the trigger for the 12 games because of a lack of attendance, I think it was, from memory. And TV viewerships or something, but it just seemed like they were pumping the brakes on the competition at one point there with the new leadership.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's been building every single year that since its inauguration, and you go to any of those matches, like we were saying, at Henson Park or North Sydney Oval, and it was just packed. Like, it was so fun. And then similar across the whole entire league, I think their skill has gone up, the speed of the game has gone up. I mean, the tackling pressure is better than the men's game. And then the high scoring. We're ticking all the boxes that they've been asking the women to do, and they've been doing it in spades, and yet still we can't get the, as you said, 17 games would be even better. But yeah, I thought this year we'd get the 12 just with how much traction it's been getting in mainstream media as well. But
yep.
Here we go.
Yeah. And women's sport generally has been getting a lot more traction in the last few years, of course, and it's always been around build it and they will come. Matildas being the darling of Australian sport. The cricketers can just fuck off, but the Matildas are what life's all about as far as the sports fans in Australia are. And that's just like one example of many. The NRLW is doing very, very well. That's been well celebrated. It just seemed like all of the inroads that we made with the AFLW was kicking off so well. We're on such a high run with it, and then just got pumped the brakes on it. And so here we are, all willing fans to participate and just wanting a place to watch it. And we've got one, but not quite enough. Not enough, I think, to satisfy the thirst. But we'll get there. We'll get there, I feel.
And it seemed to be a bit of like setting it up to not work anyway, because the AFL controls the fixture, but they also control deciding what was the number they needed to hit. Was it a couple of thousand average per game? I forget exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And so they control the fixturing. So they put a fixture together at the start of the season, which is going to include a whole bunch of games which they know are probably not going to be able to hit that, whether it's because of sizes or just lack of interest and demand in certain markets. Like, you could actually create a fixture where you put way more games that were going to way above the average, and then it wouldn't be such a concern, I think. But they've got a lot to do with this, and they've made some pretty poor decisions along the way, I think.
Yeah, they shoot themselves in the foot and then blame it on someone else. I think that's kind of the way it's been with them. Yeah, we'll get there. But for now, we move on. The season ahead, Scotty Gowans, our beloved coach, the man at the helm, driving all of this, the hard nut that we understand Chloe Malloy is explaining him as. He is, along the way, he's always been, the things he's said and the information that he wants the competition to hear and his girls to hear and the fans to hear has always been very, very competitive. He's never once sat back and gone, "Oh, we're just going to have a crack at it." He's always been like, "This is a driving. This is week 1, week 2. We get better. And at the beginning of the season, he told the girls at one of the opening days, "Don't get comfortable in your seat." Looking at Chloe Malloy, apparently, this is what Chloe said anyway, while he said this. Basically staring at his captains in the eye and saying to him, "Don't get comfortable in your seat. You're not here to take a position. You're here to take a part. You're here to win. You're here to be an inaugural part of the game." Jen, if your AFLW coach looked you in the eye and said that to you before preseason even kicked off, how would you feel?
Yeah, pretty intimidated. It would make you actually like sit upright in your seat a little bit more. You're like, oh, am I actually going to be picked for this first game or not? Are you trying to give me a clue here? Am I doing enough at training at the moment? Which I think is a good thing. I think it pushes each other, and everybody's looking to Chloe and McAvoy and Tarrant and Priv and the players who stand up every single game and want to reach their level. And I think we watched that last year. So many players across the park on the Swans, so many players started to lift and hit their confidence and hit their strides by the end of the season. And I think there's going to be a number of players who are just going to carry on from last season, which I'm sure we'll get to in a minute. I think we're going to talk about some of the players we think might be up for the bob this year, or who might be our standouts or fantasy. But yeah, you want to feel a little bit unsure about your position on the field just to keep the hunger, I think, and then that translates to on the field. And if you're working hard for your teammates, then you're working hard with your teammates. You generally have a cracking season, so it's good to have a little fire.
And a perfect segue to the next part that Gowan said, which is he wanted to work on the connection between the team this year, and that's on and off the field. After a loss, after a win, with a good quarter, with a bad quarter, his idea was the connection was going to be the main theme of the season. So he basically kicks him in the bum, going, "If you girls don't turn up and play, you're out. Like, don't bother showing up." And then a few weeks later says to him, "All right, cool. Now we're going to start getting connected. Your hard work, the hard work was done for this particular purpose, which is you work hard for each other." So pretty clear examples of leadership here by the big man himself. But looking forward to seeing that. Stevo, I mean, this is just a really, I like the way that he goes about it. I like the way he's really upfront with his expectations of the team. It gives us fans something to really look forward to.
It really does, and I think that something I noticed, I was just looking through when we were going through the new players just a minute ago. I was doing a bit of research trying to find out about them, and I noticed that Sarah Grundon and Lara Hausegger, who are both rookies who've come in from Victoria, like out of the Victorian under-18 comp, have both recently extended their contracts, one till the end of next year and one till the end of 2026. So that tells me that this is a coach which is already inspiring younger players on his list. And one of them said in an interview, she said, "I couldn't imagine, playing for anybody else. He's an amazing coach." And for that sort of feedback to be coming from the junior player group, I think is really fantastic. It says a lot about the sort of coach that he is and the sort of environment that he's building them.
I love it. And the extension for him, as we said at the beginning of the little season review, is also just encompassing what we're kind of a cultural fit. And I guess this is the Bloods culture. It's been well documented. We see it in every single thing we're a part of, from this little podcast, the Bevy that we do, to celebrating the game, to going to the games, to the clubhouse, and everything in between is all kind of connected. So Gowan's no different there. Everyone's on the right path. Jen, before we get stuck into the preseason game, anything you wanted to mention there before we start talking about the actual games themselves that have just happened?
Okay, with the connection, I think they stem together exactly what you just said. Like, don't get comfortable in your seats. I was just thinking about that a little bit more whilst you guys were talking. Of it does make everybody work hard with each other. Like at training, if everybody's lifting, and then in the gym afterwards, everyone's wanting to get to their PBs. And I think we see a little bit later down, McAvoy said during the interview that 50% of the team had their PB on their 1.5K run. I think that's just a sign of the team is working really hard together, and it's going to create that connection on and off the field. If they're working hard behind the scenes, it's going to deliver in front. And as you said, if the coach is leading from the front with that, and girls are wanting to sign and not wanting to play for anyone else, and they're being signed for extensions before the season even starts, I mean, here we go. This is looking great.
Let's get on with it. That's it. I can't wait. It's getting me excited, and yeah, it's getting me super excited. There has been a couple of games. Now, a little bit of context. There was the VFLW where the Swans kind of got themselves involved, and they actually were given some authority to actually throw in a fair few AFLW quality girls into the mix, being that there wasn't that quality of competition available for the girls in the off season, so they got stuck into the VFLW. So there was a fair few games that the girls played. There's one notable one earlier in the year in May where the Swans lost by 2 points against a well fit out AFLW Magpies. But quite a few of the key players weren't playing from either team, but just a notable. Other than that, the preseason games have just kicked off. We had one against GWS on the weekend. Jen, over to you. What was the outcome of that one?
So a big victory over the GWS Giants in the practice match, the scratch match, won by 11 goals, with apparently Priv and Berendsen up front starring, and they're looking pretty fit. There was a couple of good fit photos on Instagram that I saw of Priv. So good to have her back up after it looked like an ankle injury and also the back injury at the end of last year. I remember her clutching at her back there. So good to have her back, and she's looking like she's back to her clutch mark best. And then did see a couple of pictures of Smith and Ham as well, just looking again like they've had another preseason under their belt and they're looking dangerous. So good signs for us early.
That's right. Stevo, we've got the Hawks at the SCG on Saturday, this weekend, 17th of August. What do we want to see out of that game? What is it you're looking forward to?
That's the dress rehearsal, really. Isn't it? You're getting close. If that's the last match against like top level opposition, and then there'll be a week gap, and then the season will start. So by that game, I'd really want to be seeing a lot of our better players playing like high minutes, and starting to get a pretty good idea of who our best team is going to be by that one. Is anyone going? Is anyone getting along to the SCG on Saturday?
I'm unfortunately missing it. I'm going to be still down here in Victoria. Jen, are you managing to get out there at all?
What time is that game actually?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Ooh, actually, I think I might try and get over there. It'd be good to see that game considering Hawks beat us last season. Just to see how far we've come or where they're sitting at the moment as well. So it'd be good to look at some of those matchups again. Yeah, I think I might go.
Awesome. Good. We do have some fun things here. So the AFLW does have its own fantasy. So if you're at home and you're a manic AFLW fantasy fan, it's actually fantastic in the women's because there are less games. So picking your players is so much more complicated. I think there's arguably less injuries because the season is a lot shorter. And so you can kind of really put together a pretty solid team from the beginning, although I had Ali Morfitt, of course, and soaked up a lot of my money at halfway through the season. Jen, are you going to be having a crack? I might have I had a crack last year and I kind of gave up halfway because I stopped paying attention. I think I'm going to go all the way with this one.
I think I will just for the giggles of it. I wasn't going to, but we've had a few conversations about this now, so I better get into it. So I haven't formally got a little fantasy team going up yet, but I saw that this was a question for this evening. So it was more people I was keeping an eye on, particularly for a breakout season within the Swannies. I know obviously with a fantasy team you want to pick from a variety of different clubs, but red and white through and through. So the key players I'm kind of keeping an eye on or keep having a bit of attention to. If I was going to look at defence, I've been loving what Heads was doing in that second half of the season. I feel like she's going to have another breakout. And, between, we've already said Tarrant McAvoy and her, I was really impressed considering she's kind of an undersized back in comparison to some of the opponents she had last year. The mids, we spoke about Kennedy. I think she's amazing. Such a great lockdown player, but if what you said is true, she's got a bit more size on her and just the speed. I think she's going to get a lot of the ball herself and she might be a little bob contender for the Swannies. And Ham. I really thought Ham was starting to come into her confidence in those last 3 to 4 games, and I reckon same thing pre-season on her. She'll be quicker, stronger, get that confidence back up. And then from our tall forwards, just spreading it a bit, giving Prip some space, but also taking some of that heat off her. Let's get Smith into the game a little bit more, I reckon. Her, and I think she's a lefty. She's a lefty, isn't she, Smith? Having a lefty up front's also a bit of a danger weapon, so that'd be great.
Yeah. So that's solid. That's a pretty solid makeup, I think. Yeah, I heads from what I understand, I got told at the back end of last season that she may be coming in to do a bit of wing work, is the word. So maybe rolling her up a bit more with the hard running. So let's see whether that little inside tip kind of came through or not. So there you go.
And they've brought in defenders. They've like you've looked at that list of you're right. That list, like most of them are defenders. Like 4 out of 6 or something. Half of them are defenders of that new lot. So maybe they are trying to fill a hole there so she can move up the field.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, Jen. Go for it.
Yeah. No, that'd be interesting because I think another player who I'd probably put in there, a bit of an unsung hero, is Lisa Steen. I think she's been a pretty incredible wing so far. So I guess, just her, she's always there as an outlet player coming out of defence. She runs hard both ways. She's a tough tackler. I think she's a bit of an unsung, but there sounds like there's competition for positions all across the park now. So
yeah, Steen can run all day long. Like she's crazy. Like she's sprinting non-stop throughout the game. So yeah, that should be interesting to see where the competition lies for that. The draw is highly contested because it is only the 11 games. So not every single team gets to play everyone. Stevo, you typically run the analysis, you run it through the supercomputers up there in Finland, throw a bunch of AI bots at it, mate. What do they all come back with? What's happened?
It tells us that this year's fixture is a little bit harder than last year's. Not super hard compared to last year, but not quite as favourable. So last year we had 11 matches. So last year we had 10 matches. This year we're going to have 11. This year we play 5 against the top 8. Last time we played 4. This year we play 2 against the top 4. That's North Melbourne and Brisbane, both away, which is significant. Last year we only played 1 against the top 4. We have the same both years, 3 games against the bottom 4 in 2023 and 2024. And the one that is also significant, which is teams which are roughly around us, is this year we play 3 against 9 versus 12. Last year we only played 2 against 9 versus 12. So overall we've got a pretty good fixture for a team that won a final, I think. But certainly it's going to take a big effort, and I think especially the blocker games from round 6 onwards. All of our 5 matches versus the top 8 are from round 6 onwards. So we play all 5 of them in a row, and then we finish with West Coast. So we really need to get to the halfway point of the season. I reckon at least 3, maybe even 4 wins to be confident of a final spot, because the first half of the fixture is tough.
Cool. Now, as this leads us in, the game is on the 30th of August. It's a Friday at North Sydney. As we mentioned, get your tickets. I don't want to hear everyone jumping onto Facebook and going, I missed out on tickets because I forgot. We're telling you, just do it. Do it now. Enough. All right, go. That's going to be a massive game. Jen, I know you've got everything written here. What we might do is just do this on the side and do like a preview game, a preview episode kind of thing, or like a little short, because there's a fair bit to unpack here, and I'm just noting that we are well and truly into our time. we didn't want to go this long. Yeah, that's all good. But yeah, the game is going to be incredible. So please go out there and get your tickets and support AFLW as you know you want to. Now, the season's coming ahead. This is the preseason preview. We cannot do anything outside of picking predictions. So, to you both, the Brains Trust, where do you think the Swannies are going to finish? Jen, I'll start off with yourself.
I did have a look at that fixture and thought, that's a tough run as well. But I want to be hopeful. We're going into the finals again. Let's go for an elimination final at least.
Elimination final. So effectively same as what we did this year.
Yeah.
No stepping back.
I think we could take 6 from that 11.
All right. Stevo, over to you. What are you thinking?
Yeah, 6th to 12th is our range, I think, and because it's such a tight ladder and such a short season, 6 wins, we should be in the finals. 5 wins, we might be lucky to scrape in. 4, probably not. And I think somewhere between 4 and 7 wins is probably what the Swans are aiming for this year. But I'm going to agree with Jen. I reckon we can make the finals. So I'll say elimination final as well.
Okay, well, from last year, I was what I felt was a little bit aggressive with my prediction, and we went even beyond that. So I'm going to go with giving us a top 4 spot heading into finals.
Wow.
And all the fun stuff that goes on from there, and to win a final at the very least. So, yeah, top 4 for me. Let's see where we end up. We're going to write these down, and let's see where we end up at the end of the year. Now, the Bob medal, the Bevies equivalent of the Bob Skilton. We give 3, 2, 1 points out to a player every single week, and then we tally it up at the end of the year. Most of the time, we are very much in line with whatever's going on there with the teams, but it happens. Who is going to win the Bob medal? Jen, again, over to you for your prediction.
Okay, I'm going. It's probably going to be a Gardner or a Malloy again, but I'm going outside that, and I'm going to go with either Kennedy, my big crush, or Ham. Because I can't pick one. I'm bad at the rules.
Rules are meant for breaking. What's your favourite player? I'll pick 2. Thank you, Jen. Steve-O, mate, over to you.
I'm imagining Jen's footy jumper when she was a kid, all these different numbers on the back of the bloody...
Actually, it was terrible. I was like 8. Only.
It's funny, there's my nieces and nephews are doing Auskick, and every single kid wants to wear number 5 because of Chloe and because of Isaac Heaney. It's crazy. So there are fights over number 5, who was wearing number 5 at the Auskick. I reckon, like what Jen said. I think that, probably it's Chloe or it's Laura or Ali, but outside of that lot, I'm with Montana Ham too, I think. I think she's going to come into this year, be fully fit and start on fire and just be a beast and just cause the havoc that she was causing in her best in parts of last season.
Well, yeah, look, it's kind of annoying because I genuinely I was going to put down Montana Ham as well. I kind of feel that she's got this brewing. If it keeps herself healthy, every time we see her on the pitch for more than a game, you start immediately seeing the quality that she is. And so in the interest of some sport, I'm going to try for something different. I'm going to go for Sophia Hurley to just kick up that extra notch that she's continually doing. She's a tackle monster. She's wonderful with the pressure. I just wonder whether this year she's going to find an opportunity to get more hands on the ball and get some more tallies going that way. So let's see where that ends up. So if I can recall, Jen, you've decided to take 2 because the rules don't apply to you. Tanya Kennedy and Montana Ham. Steve-O's got Montana Ham. I'm going to say Montana Ham, but I'm also going to go with Sophia Hurley for my last.
So can I have a second one as well?
Yeah,
go on. Yeah, Jen stuffed it for everyone. Yeah, go.
Yeah, then I want. Oh shit! There's a few of them, isn't there? I'm gonna say Sophia Hurley as well. No, you know what? Bugger it.
No, because that's my. I chose
McAvoy.
those 2. Yeah.
Yeah, you already had her. Yeah. So Montana Ham and McAvoy are my 2. Yeah.
Big boy McAvoy. Yep, we can see that coming. Yep. Okay, cool. They're locked in. Everyone at home, if you're playing at home, feel free to ping in to us your suggestions for the Bob medal for the end of the year, your predictions, and we can keep a tally on this side and see who wins at the end of the year. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the preseason episode for the AFLW 2024. Jen, any parting words? And Steve, I'll come back to you after.
Excited to kick off the season. I can't wait to see what the Swans girls have in store for us this year, and I can't wait to get to the North Sydney Oval for round 1.
Beautiful. Steve-O?
Yep. Go and buy your tickets like today. Like get on the internet or wherever you buy tickets from and make sure you've got them because it's going to be a buzzer at game 1.
That's it. And from me, support your girls, support your Bloods, go out there, get your membership, get your tickets, and turn up to games and let's just have some fun this year and see how far the girls can go. Now with that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening in. If you come all the way to the end of this episode, we must have done something decent, right? And if you're just interested in knowing all about the AFLW, we're your people. So please follow us on whatever media you want to. Give us a like, give us a follow, and send in a message if you've got any ideas or something that we've missed. Always love to hear from the beloved Bevy. Until then, we'll see you at round 1 on the 30th of August, North Sydney Oval against the Pies. But until then, up the Bloods, and can you Swannies?